That's the reason membership is not really going so well in
Right.
India.
It starts to feel like an existential crisis.
After one, I'm like, Sherry, are you just doing this to please yourself?
What is the job role assigned to each member of your team?
How you mentioned that you sometimes say yes just because you have relations. So I don't do that. You are respected more when you are a young creator.
Yeah.
When you have like good establishment, when people know you, then brands also talk to you with a lot of respect. That
No, there's
Yeah.
a lot of disrespect.
Even with Verified, whenever we do, even if it's just a PR seeding, sending out PR hampers, basically, we don't care whether the person has 2,000 followers on Instagram or whether they're sitting at a 200,000.
And you and I have taken 13, 14 years to build this credibility, right? Like that should stand for something.
We've both been labeled by multiple agencies as tough people
Difficult.
to work with. Yeah, we share that tag.
Also, as a younger person, she's very aware of what's working and not working for her.
I believe when it comes to young creators, friendships are also very difficult in content creation.
Yeah.
I would tell the younger lot that relationships matter in this space so much more than you realize.
Then I think there's a difference between short format creators and long format creators.
Is it?
So even if you're dating someone for like a year or two, you don't talk
Yes,
about
I've
it.
been in long
like, and they've never
term
featured in
relationships.
it.
It's
They have
about
never
till
been.
there's a ring.
Till there's a
Which is
ring
what
on.
an average month of billing looks like.
There have been months where it's been over, 10 lakh.
What is an average month look like for you?
We used to mention it in iPhones, remember? That I can purchase this many iPhones.
I want to say AdSense rates go up from October to December, right? Hi everyone and welcome to today's episode of The Real Deal with me, Anam C. This is an episode where we dive into the difference between being a short form creator and a long form creator. What does it really take to stick around in this very competitive landscape of vertical content? And how do we create longevity when it comes to just building careers that go beyond a shelf life? I'm talking to two people from two very different POVs, Sherry as well as Janvi. This was very interesting for me to shoot and I think it's going to be very interesting for you to listen to as well. So buckle up those seatbelts and let's go. Hi, Janvi. Hi, Sherry. Welcome to my podcast.
Hello.
Thank you for coming. I want to start with telling you guys why I chose to bring you all together. And maybe we can give everyone some context on what I want to talk about and how I want this episode to go. I think both of you make for such a great pair together on this episode because it's going to be such an interesting juxtaposition of points of view. We call ourselves dinosaurs. And then there's someone over here who is relatively new and is obviously clearly crushing it. And I just felt like it would be so interesting to see the world of social media from our lens, which is so like literally we feel like we've ridden the wave of its evolution over the years, over a decade. And then you've come at a time where it's booming and you have made such great use of the way and the landscape is today, the way the landscape is today. I want to make sure that with every episode through this entire season and through the podcast in general, I'm able to lift the veil on how legitimate this is as a business, how becoming a creator, whether somebody chooses to be called a content creator, YouTuber, influencer, there'll be a new term by the time this episode drops. It's a very legitimate space to be in. And how, if there are any aspiring creators out there, want tips, want to know how to navigate their journeys, hopefully they will have something to learn from this episode. And if any of your fans are watching it, they'll know how you got to where you are. Yeah?
Yes.
And of course, as we go along the way, if you have any thoughts, doubts, questions, you don't feel comfortable answering something, please go ahead and let me know. But I want to start off with you, Sherry. How long has it been? 13 years?
Yeah, 13, 14, the same as you, yeah.
Yeah, something around the same. I feel like we've seen literally so many apps come and go. And then the ones that are still around really like stay. Do you still count yourself as YouTube first? You say YouTuber?
Yeah. I mean, in my head, I'm a YouTuber. I always think like that, like think in long format. And then now obviously you have to do like reels and shorts and so on. But like, I don't think I can ever say no to like a long format video. Like it excites me way more to do like a longer video.
Despite the fact that business wise, they're actually the least financially beneficial.
That for sure. I mean, but I just feel like it's something that I started with and it's so me. Because as you know, I talk a lot. So the 1 minute format really is like, oh my God, how do I say this in a minute? But like, I just feel somehow there's a storytelling in a long video and how you kind of connect with people, which you don't do in a short video,
format.
right? Like, I mean, today a lot of people who watch me for over a decade, they feel like they know me, and to a large degree they do, because like you see a lot more, I feel. Like I follow a lot of younger creators who are only short form creators, but I don't feel like I know who they are.
Yeah.
You know, like I know their content and I like their content, but like, who is this individual? Did you meet them, you know, offline and you see them and you're like, okay. But I feel like with our generation of creators, a lot more kind of came through because of that longer content.
Yeah. I love that you said we have to do reels
Yeah,
and shorts
I mean,
and all of that,
it's-
because it truly is a matter of have
Yeah.
to. There is no
I mean, the money is in that.
yeah,
right
the
now.
money is all there. The sponsorship survival really does come from vertical content. And then there's Janvi over here, who have you crossed? You're close to 1 million
Yeah, I'm close to
subscribers at this
million.
point.
Hoping to
I
cross.
think
You'll cross by the time this goes out.
episode. Yeah, inshallah. I hope so.
Yes.
And you're crushing it with vertical as well. And I know I've had this conversation with, you and your sister offline as well, where you guys really do manage to strike a balance between posting real time, posting vertical, and still making sure you're getting the views on
And traveling the world at the same
while
time.
traveling. How do you think that, like, what do you feel like you guys are doing right when it comes to this balance between vertical and horizontal? Because, like, you really have to give yourself credit for being able to find that sweet spot.
How sweet. First of all, I want to start with, it feels I made it because I'm sitting with two OG YouTubers, OG creators. And about finding the balance, I think I just want to post it when I've shot it, because if I don't post it for next 2 days, it's just gone. The real connectivity is not there. And second thing, when it comes to the social media platform where we were discussing long format and short format, I also love long format the most. Like when I sit with calendar, what I want to do, long format is the first thing that I'm going to plan. And then I'll see what can I create in shorts. Because of course, money is in, the brands are more towards short format now. But I think you can only get the real audience when you talk with them, when you sit with them, when your hair looks like a mess and you just blabber what is going in your life so that they can, relate with you and they can connect with you. And I can make it when a fan is approaching, a subscriber is approaching, I can tell if they have come via shorts or they have come with long format, because they're going to be so invested and they're going to be so happy and relatable. Like, hey, I know what you do, I know what you wear, I know what you eat for your breakfast and all. And when it comes to short format, people are just going to be, see, is that brown daughter? Is that brown daughter?
Yeah.
So I feel like long format is the one that keeps me sane and keeps me going.
But do you feel like I love that you said that it's that little nudge, because it's
Nudge,
like they're guessing whether it's you, versus when someone's watching a vlog or a long format video of any sort, they know, like, people will come to me and they'll be like, they know what I have for breakfast,
Yeah.
they know about my husband, they'll ask me
Your
how my
favorite
mom's
color.
doing, everything. But I feel like when it comes to long format, there's also a newfound pressure, because views today aren't the
Yeah.
way they once were. And I
Yeah.
don't just mean this from the lens of course, attention is divided between short form and long form. Of course, attention is divided between so many more creators now. But it's almost as if it's beginning to lose its value, whereas the value should be going up compared to vertical content.
But I think, it's not just creators. So I always see it from a different lens. Okay. I'm someone that consumes a lot of OTT content. Okay. Like I binge watch a lot of shows on multiple platforms and so on. So as someone that creates content on YouTube, I watch very little content on YouTube myself. As like as a consumer, I'm talking, not as a creator. So I see it from that lens, where when I think I'm posting a 20-minute video, for example, I think I'm competing with an episode on Netflix at that, like a 30-minute episode, right? Like I would think if I saw a YouTube video, I'm like, do I want to watch this for 20 minutes or do I just want to watch like reality TV for
It's
like
the
20 minutes? Or,
commitment.
Because there's so much happening today, right? How much time people have also is limited in a day, right?
Yeah.
If you're working, you have a job, you have other things, you're not watching like 4 hours of content in a day. And so I literally think that is also what's caused a big shift in like numbers, because these platforms didn't exist when we started out. Like the entertainment was kind of YouTube for younger people and audiences. Now today there are a zillion options, a zillion creators. So you're also not just competing with different types of like creator content. I feel it's also like shows and all of that, where like that's added like this whole different layer,
That's such unique perspective. I've never considered that
because I'm that person. So I see it like that, where I'm like, would I want to watch this for 20
Yeah.
minutes, or would I want to watch
no,
like
I'm fully
you
that
know?
person also, but I don't know why in my mind I've always assumed that someone that's like, for example, I'll switch between a Netflix, a Prime, a Hotstar, and a YouTube. But like it depends on what I'm in the mood for, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So like when I'm tuning into YouTube and I want to watch vlogs, it's honestly just between, okay, whose vlog should I click on, as opposed to another app. I also
Right.
think the younger audience and the more price sensitive audience, two separate demographics, but
Yeah.
exist nevertheless, will stick to YouTube over everything else because it's the free medium.
Yeah.
I don't think subscriptions
I
have picked up.
completely agree. That's the reason membership is not really going so well in India,
Right.
because YouTube is more of a free space. The younger audience, the people who watch me from the age group 18 to 24, I think they have fixed pocket money and they don't want to spend it on all the OTT platforms until unless it's a trending thing.
But don't like families now all have OTT like with their kids on them? I mean, like
It
my nephews
depends.
have their accounts on their
But I
parents.
think
is what
that
I
what
mean.
you're
like-
talking about is very Mumbai
Mumbai
urban.
thing,
exactly.
And then the more you penetrate into the smaller cities and towns, you realize people also like the idea of watching things on their personal devices.
Agreed.
Because then you're
Right.
not forced to watch the same thing as your sibling, as your parent, grandparent, joint families. Like there are a lot of layers and nuances to this, which is actually where I feel like similar to you. YouTube, there is a reason why the memberships in India isn't as big as everywhere else in the world. It's purely because people choose to spend if they do
On other things,
they like YouTube as the free
Right.
platform.
But also it was that, right? Like, I mean, for our thing, that was the point. Like you went on to YouTube for free advice, free tutorials. Like you could find a how-to on anything. That was how we saw it, right?
Yeah,
like
but
that
now
was
the
the point.
competition is
Yeah.
such.
Now the how-to thing is, I feel very gone and
Yeah.
very faded, because what I say, I've been doing YouTube for now 8 years, and then there were shorts, and that's when I saw the dip in long format. I think when you open
Yeah.
any platform and if it gives short format as well as long format, the brain just diverts towards
That's
short
true.
format.
Yeah.
And especially when the platform is actually also pushing short format, there are 4 YouTube shorts that are just playing constantly.
Yeah.
And you just go there. And 20 minutes of video is such a big commitment to do.
It's also immersive. I've realized as someone who, even though I love long format, when I'm in that whole reel or short format, you know, where you're just browsing, you just get sucked in, and you could spend 20 minutes doing that without realizing 20 minutes have
20
gone
minutes,
by.
exactly.
Because you're just flipping between one video to the other. But with like a longer format, it's the same person, same whatever, you know, story going on and whatever. And somehow it feels longer.
No, so this is what I mean when I'm saying that the value of the view seems lesser because it's like, oh, nobody is getting as many views on longer format.
Yeah.
But actually, in my opinion, the value of that one view
Is higher.
in a longer format because
Definitely.
you basically kept this person in
For that long.
video versus that 3-second count on a reel where it gets counted as a reel in a vertical video. And that's why I feel like, of course, there's more money in vertical. People lean towards vertical more because doom scrolling is easier. But the validation of content that comes from long form is kind of irreplaceable. Would that be the
Yeah,
right way to
agree.
put
I think
it?
it's like quantity versus quality kind of a situation where
Right
on
now.
reels or shorts you can keep watching, like you may watch 20, 30 in that time frame, but you're not really like, oh my god, wow, or like you're just doom scrolling or browsing. But with a person who's committed to watching that one long YouTube video, they've actually invested their time. They know what's happened. They are actually gaining from this video in some format, or, you know, knowing you better or whatever. Like, I feel like the gain from that is bigger for both parties.
So when you think of a content piece, do you think long format first? What do you, it's like when you think, you're thinking in English, let's say, for example, right? So what language are you thinking content in? Are you thinking content is, oh, this would be a great topic, let's put it in vertical, in short? Or do you think words are the way to go? Like, how are you formulating what to put where?
So I stick with English when it comes to long format. And when it comes to short format, I put it in 2 ways. One that goes on Instagram, and that is usually trendy audio or the timestamp, real audio, ASMR, something on those lines. I don't do full-fledged voiceover when it comes to reels, but on YouTube shorts, I start with 3-second hook. I try to summarize what is going to happen in next 60 to 90 seconds and put a hook in the start, and then VO in Hindi or English.
But when you think of an idea, you tend to think of vertical first in that sense.
Vertical first.
And what about you?
Horizontal, I mean long format.
Yeah.
I mean, like short, I have to literally like honestly, when shorts started with TikTok and all of that, I thought it's fun, like the lip sync videos or,
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff. I didn't look at it as content. Like
Correct.
the kind of content we made, right? So, I mean, for me, it's taken a big shift to even think in that direction of this can be a 1 minute video.
Yeah.
And a lot of my shorts are repurposed from the longs,
Long.
basically, because I'm thinking long and then I'm like, okay, let's also do, this in a shorter format.
Yeah.
But like, otherwise, it's more fun. Like the shorts are more fun, impromptu, random things that I want to just shoot and, upload. And then the longer format is obviously the thought out ideas or your proper, thought. Like somehow I always feel like investing less in shorts. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to like write a whole video, like a organic video and make a short of it. I'd rather do it in a long
In the
format
long
if I have the option.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
And now I used to be this person, but now I think I'm changing, because when I was in Japan, I made 2 long format videos, proper Japan J vlog, and they were 45 minutes each.
Right.
And it took me 3 days to shoot one video, one proper vlog. I want all the family banter to be there, plus also what I'm doing,
Yeah.
things to do and all of that. But I think if I did how much I spent for 3 days or things to do, it would have performed much more,
Right.
because the views I'm getting here are 2 lakhs. When it comes to 3 short format, I would have got more views, because now people don't want to commit to 45 minute vlogs at all. So now the slight shift is going towards short format for me, because I see so many people doing so well when it comes to shorts, whereas I'm investing so much of my energy, my efforts.
In a
Editing
longer
45
video, yeah.
minutes video is also a task.
Yeah.
But what am I getting? Not as many views as I would get when I'm creating short format
It's
content.
interesting that you say that, because I was reading an article that was actually talking about how there is a niche. It's a niche, unfortunately, but people are missing old school long YouTube
Yeah.
videos. So whether it's a vlog or whether it's a podcast or whether it's anything else, people are actually also finding quality content in long form. Now, these are two completely opposite contrarian opinions, naturally, because we're talking about how everything is moving vertical. But there seems to be this niche which is very slowly but gradually growing.
I mean, it's there, but I would still say it's like I feel like you and I do a travel vlog because
Yeah.
it takes a lot. On your trip, you're shooting non-stop. People think, oh, it's just like, you stitch bits and pieces. But like,
No.
if you're like old school vlogging where you're talking to like piece to camera and then like whatever, you're filming throughout.
Yep.
Throughout.
Then when you come back, there's a whole lot of footage, especially in like 4K now. And then to edit that and make like part 1, part 2, all of that.
Yeah.
It like sometimes you spend a week or like editing just that one video and then
Yeah.
you see the views and you're like,
Nothing.
What am I getting?
and then that
Yeah.
random 5-second view shot or whatever is like gone into some viral video and I'm
Yes.
just like,
I wish I did that.
what?
But this is a constant existential crisis that I know I have, because I'm like, I want to do like when I'm traveling,
Yeah.
I want to do like daily vlogs.
Yeah.
One day it'll be what I spent in LA, as a
Exactly.
tourist, because I'm hoping people will want to see that. One day I'll be like, okay, where all to go when you're in New York, or let's do a New York food diary on what I ate in that day. And I mean all of this from
Yeah.
a horizontal VOD point of view. And then suddenly that one shot that has just snippets with the trending audio will end up going into like 2.3
Yeah.
million views. And I'm like, why was I? And
Why
it
did
really,
I spend so much time
Yeah.
and energy?
And it starts to feel like an
Yeah.
existential crisis, because I'm
Yeah.
like, am I not doing
Yeah.
it right?
Or am I doing this for myself?
Yeah,
Like, what's going on?
exactly,
Because like after one, I'm like, Sherry, are you just doing this to please yourself where you think that this is the right thing?
I'll be
Like,
honest, sometimes I am doing it for myself.
Yeah, but you know what
I'm
I
not
mean?
willing to
like,
give up that-
It's like, are you thinking like stupidly is what I mean. Sometimes I
Yeah.
think like she said, like you have to start thinking short.
Yeah.
Where now I have started that in some places, like where if I'd be like, okay, this would be a great reel, like just 10
Yeah.
seconds, and I don't need more than 10 seconds. It's fine, to do this. But like, that definitely you see that difference, especially in the numbers where you're looking and you're like, I spent like a whole week doing this or 10
yeah.
days doing this, and it's crazy.
Exactly. Like in 2 vlogs, if I have posted like 6 shots,
Exactly.
my subscribers would grow more. I think when it comes to long format, the subscriber growth is so
So
low,
slow.
so
Yeah.
slow. Like, if I was like a short format creator, I would have hit 1 million by now. But my first thought is, let's create long format videos. That's where I feel there's a depth.
What do you get more business inquiries, sponsorship inquiries for, integrations in long form or shorts?
Shorts.
Yeah, reels and shorter
Reels
content,
and shorts, yes.
Which is why everyone talks about how the money right now is
Yeah.
there, even though it's like obviously like leads to subscriber growth, but shorts doesn't pay you the way AdSense on horizontal videos pays
yeah.
you. How do you manage the business side of things? Can we talk a little bit about what your teams are like and what every, like, let's say, what is the job role assigned to each member of your team? Let's break it down a little bit. Sherry, you want to go
Okay.
first?
So for the longest time, the team was I, me, myself, like you, and we used to be like doing it all ourselves.
There was no concept of
and
teams.
There was no concept of a videographer or an editor and all of that. And I really held on to that for as long as I think could. And then when I had TB, I was just physically like so tired a lot that then I got someone on board to help me film and shoot. And for the longest time, it was the same person shooting and editing a lot of my, sit down content and or like elevating the edits and stuff. And so then, I mean, that obviously has progressed over the last few years. And now I shoot all my sit down content professionally with a videographer, and I have an editor on board for like the packaged series and videos and stuff. Vlogs, I still do myself end to end because I just feel like the storytelling is there. Like whether it's a day in my life, whether it's a trip, whatever, unless that person is with you, they don't know your story or how you kind of see it. Also, because I'm a like shoot, edit everything yourself, creator first, I'm editing in my head when I'm shooting, right? Like, especially a vlog. So I'm thinking, oh, this would be a great time lapse, or this would be like, I'll do 5 quick cuts of this. So it's impossible to kind of give that to somebody unless they're sitting with you and you're sitting on that edit. But then I'm like, I might as well edit it myself, right? Yeah. So, I mean, for me, that's how I kind of function. It's still very small and very intimate because I feel I'm someone that does a lot of chatty, real content. And I like that where it's just, and I still do the by myself in the room, sometimes put on my camera and just do a video as well. It's not like a, hard and fast. Like if I do a lot of the real talk series, it's something that's happened in the day and that sparked this debate in my head. And I'm like, oh, I want to do this. I'll just do it. So yeah, I mean, it's a mix of both, but I definitely feel like once you go into that elevated 4K edited content, it's very difficult. Then the DIY version does not look the same, like 24/7. Like you can't, like, it's okay one-off where you have bits and pieces in between, but it's like I can't go back to like filming with my webcam now at this point, right? So I think that is natural with content creation where you elevate the content, you move into a bigger, better space with technology and everything that's available today. But yeah, I still feel like keeping things smaller and tighter and having the same person work on your edit team for really long, where they get your vibe, they understand what, like it's like almost without saying it, it works out.
Wait, so do I understand correctly? You have, of course, yourself, but there's the editor and the videographer. So what about business management?
It's just me.
So are you still dealing with brands yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I worked with someone in between on my own, or like with someone, but it didn't really work for me because again, I was someone that was doing it myself for so long. Also, because I was a model earlier, I was used to kind of managing myself at some level. So because I started this much later, in life. So I feel like somehow after you've managed yourself, it's just really difficult to have a manager unless you find someone that really fits that bill, that gets you clearly, understands. Also, me as a person, I'm very like picky about the deals I will do or not do. And like there are many layers to even a brand collab for me.
Correct.
So I feel like when there's someone else, somehow it's lost in translation, or there's always that, you should do it, don't do it. And you're messing with your mind on, whatever. So for me, I feel like this way, it's much clearer where at least I am clear about everything on my worth, what I want to charge, how it will work, how it won't work, whether I can take it on, not take it on, all of that. And anyways, now there's so many layers with agencies involved and stuff. It's never like rare that you're working with a brand directly now, right? Yeah. So I feel the less people involved from my end, the better, because at least then I am the one who's dealing with it.
I get what you're saying. It's very practical and logical. My question that goes one step further to you on this is, and I'm coming on this because I'm also on the fence with this. Like I have a manager, but there are certain brands that I will deal with myself because I have that existing relationship with them. But also because I have that existing relationship with them, sometimes I will do the deal for lesser
less,
than
yeah.
I
Yeah.
should.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, okay, it's because I work with them
Yeah.
so many times in a year. And then sometimes the team will be like, like
You're not supposed
Yeah.
to
you
do
shouldn't
that,
have done
yeah.
that. It could have still been in the middle or a little bit higher. And I'm coming from the point of view of fully understanding the logical sense in what you're saying. I would love to handle all the deals myself if you ask me, with full respect to my team and agencies I've
Yeah.
had and whatever. The reason I'm saying that is because it really helps build a direct relationship also, but also it reduces the kitch of going
Yeah,
back
and forth,
forth,
yeah.
back
I
forth.
can't relate.
But then there are people who are like, oh, talent shouldn't talk money. It devalues the talent. And I'm
No,
like,
I don't believe in all that. I don't think
I
it's
don't
any of
understand
that.
it.
Yeah, I think in fact, I much would if I was a client on the other end, I would actually respect talent that
Yes.
knew their worth and what they stood for, or gave me actual one-on-one feedback. Like a lot of the times I've gotten this over the years where I'm someone that loves to do calls. Okay, like actually do a call with the client, even if it's with the agency. I push a lot, saying sometimes when they're like, oh, this is it, it's all locked and all, I'm like, I still want to do this Zoom call or call. I just want to see their face. I want to have a face-to-face conversation
Yeah.
or even a call just to say this is why I've done this, or whatever. And a lot of the time there's a lot of obviously agencies are like no, because they want to maintain that barrier
wall,
of like but then when I do speak to the clients, they always love it and they're like, I'm so glad you took the time out to do this, because it's not often that people do. Like, you're not treating it just like, okay, just let me read the script, finish it, be done with it. You're actually giving me the time.
Yeah.
You're understanding my brand, explaining your brand to me. And it's like an actual collaboration.
Yeah.
Because that's how I see it in my head. I'm like, it's not just a brand deal of one video and done. I'm partnering with your brand. My brand is partnering with your brand. There has to be some synergy. There has to be some, thought process behind it. So that's where I think brands do value that. So I think this whole thought process is more agency driven, because they want more creators to sign up. And also a lot of younger creators, I feel, don't feel comfortable or don't know, right?
There
what
is
to
actually,
say.
that's
Like,
what I was going to
price.
say. When I
Yeah.
started doing this content creation, people used to come from media agency or brand. You don't know how this works. Other
Right.
people are
Yeah.
doing this for free. You are just showing tantrums for no
Like
reason. You can be
undervaluing you.
fooled. Yeah, exactly. So there's one where you actually connect with the brand. That is very rare. Let me be very honest, because when I started, it was very, very difficult to do it on my with myself and talk to the brands, talk to the media agency and everyone. So I got my manager on board, and he's been handling my work for now 7 years, and I'm so grateful. I am a person who cannot talk so often with random people, unknown people. So for me, I think it works
That
the
works
best.
better.
I don't want to be connected in the same group as well, because maybe I can be slightly harsh with my words and it can be taken in the other format that, oh, this is not the way you're supposed to deal with it. So
Right.
I let the professional people do the work for me. So it's always the business side managed by my manager, and I don't even want to get into the groups and all of that, because a lot of times we go to the events and I'm like, I'm not sure who the POC is. Let me ask.
Yeah.
We have been on
So you
that.
have like blind trust.
Blind
with your
trust.
What
manager,
happens
whether
if your
so-
manager leaves,
Yeah.
Janvi?
So
I mean,
the
I
contacts
get
are
that-
with me. Like whenever
Right.
I'm sitting, there's a briefing call there I'm going to be there. But when it comes to the budget and the negotiation part, that is where
But
I
you don't get
want to be
involved at all. Like, it's not
No.
like you will tell your manager, I want this much for this
No,
job
so
at
I've
least.
told him this is my deliverable and this is what I'm going to charge for it. If they give it to me, that's okay. I will not work for less. Like
So
how you
is
say.
the
Right.
final call then the managers to be like, okay, I will say no if this number does not get agreed upon, or will there be negotiation and he will come back to you and say, acha par itte pe karte hain?
Sometimes he does that. For example, if I worked with that
Brand
media agency
multiple
quite a
times,
lot,
right.
and if they have less budget for this particular campaign, then I look forward to it. And usually what happens, there are going to be two calls. One, when the brand approaches and tells this is what we are looking for, especially for hair color, if you
Right.
say. Hair color is a big part. You don't do that
Every
every day, right? It's not like a sunscreen that you are working with. So he'll come back to me and ask me, this is what the brand is saying. Do you want to work for it? And then I'll tell, this is my last price. If they work for it, I am good. If they don't, then I'll back off. And that also helps, like how you mentioned that you sometimes say yes just because
Yeah.
you have relations. So I don't do that.
But
It's
you don't
very-
micromanage, like you don't get involved in between.
No,
saying
there's a
what are they
sheet.
saying,
There's
what's
a
happening.
sheet, Google sheet where we have like fixed deliverables that we are going to work on. The brands that are that have given me confirmation,
Right.
and then there are there's a
Maybes.
list maybes. We are in words with them, and there's a commercial that we have pitched, and that's a commercial that they are
Wow.
looking forward to.
I mean, I'm getting anxiety just hearing her only. I'm
No.
like, how do you have so much?
No, what concerns me is I think the control freak in me more
Yeah,
goes
I
like,
would not
what
be
if the
able to.
manager leaves? Because
So that though is still see.
So
Leaving
now
is
the-
secondary. My thought process is like in my head, like because when we started, like it's like my channel, my content, my baby, like that. Like you're saying that control freak of every little nitty
Yeah.
thing that I want to be involved
But
in.
when you guys started, the brands also started growing with
That
you
makes
guys,
sense.
right?
Yeah.
But now the brands are very high.
Yeah.
I feel, and especially when it comes to young creators, they are fooled very easy.
Fair.
So it's always better, even if you don't have a manager, I will say ask your brother or sister to do the talks on your behalf.
Right.
You are respected more when you are a young creator.
Yeah.
When you have like good establishment, when people know you, then brands also talk to you with a lot of respect that they have been in the industry and we cannot fool
No,
them.
there's
Yeah.
a lot of disrespect also.
No, I was gonna say there is a middle way in the middle where they feel like they tell you they respect you, but the
They
ways
don't.
of the
Yeah.
work are a little bit
Or they'll
wonky.
call you and be like, but cost per view pe nahi chalta hai.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't work
This
on
is-
cost per view.
okay,
I
so
haven't
let's-
worked for 10 years.
Let's definitely get into this because I don't think people understand this. And I'm coming from a point of view of people saying CPV,
Yeah.
cost per view, should be like 0.2,
Whatever
0.1,
rubbish, yeah.
0.5.
I mean,
No,
I had
I
to
get
Google this term for the first time I heard it. I swear I had no idea what they were talking when they were like,
Okay.
when someone like few years ago when it first happened to me. And I'm like, what the hell are they even saying? Like, I'm like, I just don't understand because it was a very clear, like you said, from my end where I'm like, this is the rate I would work on. And there's no back or forth. It happens, doesn't happen,
Happens,
whatever.
yeah.
And then we're like, but I'm like, how are you coming with a calculation to me? Like,
Okay,
like
yeah.
I am the person who's supposed to. And then I was like, what is this? And I've Googled it. I'm like, what is this new scene? And then I was just like, okay, this is crazy. So then after I just started saying, if someone comes with that, so only I'm like, sorry, thanks. I don't work on
Okay,
this
so I
model.
have a slightly hot take on this, and I don't think I fall on either side. This is one of the situations where I'm on the fence. So I get when brands and agencies are trying to achieve a certain CPV. Your CPV, usually I think what they're trying for is 0.3, 0.5. Whereas I think with a creator, you want to set your own CPV because you understand how diluted or undiluted your audience is. I mentioned this in one of the other episodes when we were talking to someone about how I was talking to someone who is 1 million followers up on Instagram. And it turns out while we were having a conversation, her and I charged the same. And mind you, I'm sitting at 325, I
Right.
think. And I'm talking about someone who's close to 1 million followers, more than me.
Right.
So I said, why are you undercharging so much? Because, that's not good for the market as well. People will expect everyone
Yeah,
to charge
then
that
be like,
much.
yeah.
Vis-a-vis, which probably slashes my own price in half. And the response I got was a very interesting one where she said that when I do a beauty campaign, I don't have an audience that's tuned in for advice on beauty versus someone like me or someone like you
Right.
guys, obviously, are walking into an audience of mostly women already tuned in with similar interests and topics.
Exactly.
But then, which also takes me to, so shouldn't my CPV be
Be
higher than
Exactly.
somebody
Yeah.
else's?
Yeah.
So I don't see as brands and agencies being wrong in their point of view of trying to
I-
find a better deal for them. But I also don't see it wrong for a creator
I
to
don't think the
value
model
themselves.
of CPV or whatever works in general. Why? I'll tell you why. Because new creator, old creators, all that secondary. I'm not even talking just numbers. I'm talking, as you said, and as the person you were talking about rightly pointed out, each person has a niche. Each person has a tuned in audience for something, right? Whatever they're coming in regularly to your content for. Now, you and I have taken 13, 14 years to build this credibility. Right? Like that should stand for something.
I agree.
And I, as a creator, again, as I told you, as a policy, I've always been very picky about the amount of brand deals I will do in a month or what kind of brands I would work with. And I've said no to many jobs. So I feel like I need a reward for that also, right? Like I'm not also being a sellout and doing every campaign that's coming my way. So in my head, my worth and value is calculated basis that, basis that, as someone that's worked for so long, the quality of my content in terms of the production and all of that, plus what I am bringing to the table as my brand, right? Now, when you're talking similarly with like any kind of a professional, you don't calculate a thing basis how much work they've done, right?
Yeah.
Like, or what are the like views is a very, I feel like it's a very one-sided approach.
It's a single metric.
Yeah, there's just one metric, and there are a lot of things you can't measure.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like if you're collaborating with a creator, it has to be basis what they stand for, who they are,
What their audience is
what their
like.
audience is looking for. Like you said, like it's like saying, like someone in comedy may really not care about doing a one-off beauty deal because it's like, oh, I'm doing it one-off, and it's not like I have to be like, so mindful about it. But someone like you would be more mindful about, like, if they tell you these are the 10 claims you have to say, you will be like, I don't think this is right, or I want to check this, I want to cross check this because I will not say it, right?
Yeah.
So there's all those things which come into play. So I feel like this whole, it's just devaluing the industry in general, not just, I'm not talking about independent creators or, otherwise. I just feel like there's more to it, especially today where there's so much boosting, everyone's running ads, creators, brands, all of that. What is the point of this metric anyways? Like, I mean, you can, like, there could be someone's profile that is totally boosted and all the content you're seeing
And
is
there are
boosted. Yeah. So then then obviously their calculation is going to be higher because you're seeing, oh, so many views have come,
Right.
or whatever. So I think that's where I feel like I always tell brands also who come, like my friends who are younger brands, people who, have started businesses. I'm like, go to the person that fits your brand first, more than anything. And like, don't look at numbers necessarily because that it's one part of it. Yes. But there's also these other things which if there's no synergy between you and that person's brand, that doesn't make sense. But even if they have 10 million, if their audience is not the right audience for you, it's really pointless.
No, I agree with this so much because even with Verified, whenever we do, even if it's just a PR seeding, I mean, we're not a big brand, so it's not like we do paid collaborations. But even when we're doing something as simple as seeding, sending out PR hampers, basically, we don't care whether the person has 2,000 followers on Instagram or whether they're sitting at a 200,000. If the content is aligned with what I think will fit well for, okay, this person can represent my brand, I'm happy with that. Having said that, this is very by and large deeply penetrated into the market. So when you have someone that's coming to you and negotiating a deal, how are you combating this as a newer creator? Because see, somewhere without trying to sound unhumble or whatever, we can say, nahi, humne itne saal kaam kiye hain. There is, whatever, 14 years of work that's gone behind this. How is a newer creator? 8 years is not so new, but for someone who's watching, I think more than us, you're in a better position to advise them. How would you say to combat a situation like that?
So when
Get
it
a
comes to
manager
cost-
number one.
Yes, let the professionals do the work. And it is not supposed to be you have to get a media agency, you just have to get a right person.
Right.
I see a lot of young creators, like my cousin was starting up and she's like, shall I join this media agency? Shall I join this media? I'm like, no, you just need the right person to manage you and just tell them what you want, what you don't want. And all of these media agencies, sometimes they come for committed views, sometimes they come for CPV. And just don't fall for anything. Do what feels right to you and give them insights that this is what will work for your brand. A lot of times people come and tell me, for example, there was this car brand that wanted to work with me. And it was a Lux car brand. What my audience is 18 to 24, 98% girls. They cannot invest in that car so often. Whereas if I'm promoting a L'Oreal product or a Maybelline product, that is going to get better returns compared to a car. So just show them what you have to offer and let them do the work for you. If they feel you are right for them, do it. And if they feel this is not aligning, even if they want to invest, but you think that is not going to work well for your platform, just deny.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Also, because I think newer creators have so much of advantage now compared to obviously a decade and a half ago, where everything, whether it comes to equipment, whether it comes to resources, whether it comes to understanding the industry, it's a lot simpler. I'm not saying it's simple. I'm saying it's relatively simpler. When I bought my first ring light, I think
I was about
paid
to say that.
Yeah, I think I paid like 10, 12,000.
Yeah, I was just going to say it was 10,000
And I
rupees.
was like 1,500 rupees for a ring light on Amazon. And
Or even less.
And it was just on Amazon. Now you just walk on the streets and you're
It's
finding
everywhere.
multiple ring
So it's
lights.
easier, like the barrier level of entry is definitely lower, but it's also so much more complicated because there are so many more people in the space.
Yeah.
And for newer creators, I'm almost intimidated for them because if I
Yeah.
started today, I don't think I'd have it.
Likewise.
I'll be very honest. Only because I think, and I say this often, I am my worst enemy. We're both known as, and I know this for a fact, we've both been labeled by multiple agencies as tough people to work
Difficult.
with. Yeah, we share that tag because so like Sherry was saying earlier, she does those calls with the brand. I don't necessarily insist on brand, but if it's the agency, I will still insist on a call because I'm like, I want to hear and discuss the brief even beyond what is written in a Word document
Yeah.
because I like to be able to understand the psychology behind why and what I think makes sense for me to do and what doesn't. So we share this tag, and there may be one or two more people that I'm thinking of that are the difficult quote unquote people to work with. And I think, you know what? Each to their own. But because there are so many more people, it's so much tougher that now if I started, I don't think I would have been able to do half of what you're doing or what I've done or what anybody out there that's crushing it right now is doing.
Also, as a younger person, she's very aware of what's working and not working for her, which I quite admire because I think
I'm in the industry for some time.
No,
I
I'm
started
saying
after 10th
even
standard.
then,
But you're
as
23.
but you're so young. Like it's quite amazing that I'm saying you're so aware
Give
that
yourself credit where it's due.
that you're like, this is not my scene. You do it. Like you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
I'm not working for relations anymore. I've stopped doing
in that zone of like very clear of what she would do, wouldn't do. Similar to us, but you know what I mean? Where she's may not be as rigid, but she's still clear on what she likes and doesn't like.
This is what I mean by the advantages that and I, like you said, you've been around for 8 years, but you're still 23. You must give yourself due credit that you've understood what the industry is very early on. Like today, I'm 34. You're 37.
39.
Sorry. I keep getting your age wrong. And you're 23. And you understand that you still have such a long way to go. And I also think that we're in this space where we finally busted a very big myth. 10, 12 years ago, my dad used to tell me, start something on the side. You don't know how long this is going to last. You don't know what the shelf life is. You're a first generation blogger. Because at that time, we used the term blogger.
Yes.
And you don't know how long you're going to be able to keep this going. And now I think we can safely say that age has pretty much nothing to do with it.
was
If
about
you
to
can
ask.
keep your content, kind of good enough for
You
people.
guys are in the industry for almost 14 to 15 years. You guys have a beautiful shelf life. I see you guys creating such amazing content. And I've seen the shift also, like how you used to do beauty and now you do the mom content also. So beautiful. Give advice to young creators who are stepping in, how to be in the industry for a
I
while.
think, for when I started out, I was like primarily beauty fashion because I think when you're younger, you think that's what people want to see and stuff. And then it got more raw and real over the years as I think I got comfortable. And now, honestly, I don't see the camera as a camera. I see it as I'm just talking to a friend
someone,
like once you get comfortable in that zone. And for me, that I feel was very liberating because I just feel like now I can do anything and shoot anything without there being a filter or feeling like, oh my God, like I want to do this or not do this. And I think that is where I see a lot of young creators where they think of the aesthetic of how things should look, like everything needs to be Pinteresty, perfect, beautiful, makeup, clothes, house, everything. Like it's just like almost like a cookie cutter image of
mug,
everything.
All pastels, all white.
Yeah. So I feel like, sometimes I want to shake some of the younger people and be like, don't think of that. Like, it's okay. It's okay to just, not have your makeup on and shoot a video or to do something one-off. So I think that is one thing I feel has become is getting more and more formal, which we had like a more raw, more real approach because also we were very DIY in our filming, right? So it was very raw and real. You wouldn't even, like the vlogs, you're not brushing your teeth also. You just start with a good morning and it's as raw and real as it is. But I feel like today that shift has definitely come in where it's more polished and in that space. But I would like to kind of see creators be a little freer and not be like stuck in their own, bubble of that. Oh, if I do this, that people.
Yeah, I want to look poised and a
wanna look
certain
perfect.
way.
Even on my holiday, I want to look perfect. I want to have
You can't have perfect hair all the time.
Or like wear uncomfortable shoes, but just for those photos where I'm like, no, just like.
But I also feel when it comes to younger creators who are starting with it, there's so much of competition that they want to look a certain way so that brands approach them.
But you know what? That's not going to give longevity. I
Yeah,
feel
that
like
is
that's
true.
going to
Yeah.
work well for when you're trying to achieve a certain look, style, branding.
Yeah.
But it's not going to work in the
Work.
long term.
Yeah.
Because
And
at
also
some
it's
point, you're going to be
tough
like, I'm
to keep doing
tired.
it. Exactly.
Yeah.
As a person, like you will burn out, you will be done, you will be like, okay, I can't do this. Like
Yeah.
I want to just, I like making content, but I don't want to be perfect all the time.
Correct. I feel like I would give advice on everything that she said. And I would just add one more layer to it. Like work wise, I feel like she covered a lot of things. The only thing I would add on is that I would tell the younger lot that relationships matter in this space so much more than you realize. I've always believed in this, and I
That's
say
true.
it over and over again. You meet the same people on your way down that you met on your way up.
Yeah.
You can't forget that. And I've seen newer creators that have become friendly with me and have taken advice from me. And I've seen things change as soon as those numbers go spiking, and they can rationalize it with any ideology that they choose to. It doesn't justify letting things get to your head, because even though your numbers are spiking and it's all good for you, at the end of the day, it's the people within the industry that need to have your back at some point, because everyone's making recommendations. Everyone knows who you are. People love to talk, whether they like to admit it or not. And your reputation can never be rebuilt once it's broken.
Yeah.
So relationships are something that I hold very sacred to me. And I'll go so far as to say that in my slump period, when I was in a creative block, when I wasn't posting organic content as much, whether it was during my pregnancy or my miscarriage before my pregnancy, I still got work because people knew me well enough to say, even though she's going to a creative block, she's going to deliver well. And I don't think that would have happened if people weren't given the chance to build that genuine connection with me.
Yeah.
And when I'm saying people, I'm not saying like subscribers and people through videos. I'm saying people in the industry. So if nobody has something genuinely nice to say about you, or not enough people do, that's time to look inward and say success cannot come at the price of your reputation within the industry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough of a value on relationships with a lot of the younger lot. I think she's one of the fine, of course, exceptions. That's why you're here. And we're having this very candid conversation. But a lot of people these days.
No, I
don't
agree.
value it.
Also, like, I believe when it comes to young creators, friendships are also very difficult in content creation.
Yeah.
Shouldn't it be easier? at the
Changes
younger
very
No,
lot?
so I'll tell you, I'm a very introvert person, and Anam knows it very well, very well. Like, it takes 2 to 3 meetings for me to crack, okay, I vibe with this
Right.
person, and I can share whatever I feel like. And it happens over the period of time. But when I see content creators in a group, it becomes so difficult for me to go have a word, because I feel that's a group that is going to judge.
Right.
But whereas if there's a single creator just going around trying to figure out, I would approach that person and be like, hey, how are you doing, and all of that.
I
So
thought
the
Gen
group
Z
is
didn't have all these filters.
maybe they don't. I feel like this.
I don't think they'll judge
No, but
you,
they are
honestly.
also, I feel like what she's not judge her, but like she's saying when there is that click already,
Yeah.
it's very intimidating to kind of
Walk
like
into
walk
it.
into
But
it.
I'm trying to tell her that maybe it's a little bit of overthinking.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
maybe because
Yeah.
I know
She's
her.
in that zone, yeah.
It's one of those things where when you are kind of get over that
Yeah.
internal fear, they won't judge you. You'll be
Yeah.
just fine. And I'm also coming from the point of view of she is an introvert. And because I know her, I feel like I've been hanging out with her and her sister for about maybe a year and a half-ish, close
Yeah.
to 2 years at this point. I'm not sure. I know that she is the more introverted one, but she is also the one that once she warms up, will just kind of settle very comfortably.
Yeah.
And even though we have such a big age difference,
Yeah.
we're 10, 11 years apart. I feel like I'm so close to her where we've had some massive heart-to-hearts.
Conversation.
About
Yeah.
life, not even just work. I mean, like
Yeah,
about
yeah,
life. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think Gen Z would judge you or that you are the type.
Then, if not Gen Z, then I think there's a difference between short format creators and long format creators.
Ooh, is it?
Yeah, like if it's a YouTuber, so I'm more connected to the Mumbai audience because I do Surat, Mumbai quite a lot. But when it comes to Delhi audience or Delhi creators, it becomes difficult for me to go and talk very easily. When it comes to short format creators.
But why do you feel that? You feel like they're unapproachable in your head, or
Yeah,
you feel
for me,
like
they look slightly more unapproachable, and I don't know much about their lives. When it comes to long format creators, I know what is going on in
Right.
their life. I know how they talk to their camera.
You have icebreakers. 'cause
Yeah.
you
Yes,
know
Yeah.
that.
yes. And I am a core YouTuber, so it becomes was very difficult. I remember when I started talking with Mridula, I was like a proper fangirl. And I sent her some DIYs that she did in her vlogs. I was like, as a subscriber, see, I also recreated. And when I met her, it was all coming together from the screen to a person in real life. But when you show just like 30 seconds of your life on screen, it's not that relatable and it's not that approachable for me. It's my personal opinion.
But that's what we were discussing at the beginning of this video, right? Like where, like that you don't feel like you know the person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is true. Like I feel like you could watch 5 long videos of someone and you feel like you know them more than even watching 20 reels.
Yeah.
Because somehow in a reel, either you're doing something else or there's your personality
It's
is
more
really
pointed.
it's
And
not,
a frame can be faked very easily for few seconds, but you
Right.
cannot.
In a longer format,
longer
you-
format,
yeah,
you
yeah.
No,
cannot.
and I also think that because in our long format videos, for all of us over here, people are used to seeing family. They're used to seeing parents,
Yeah.
sister, dog,
Yeah.
cat, child, husband. Keeping all of those factors in mind, there's a little bit more of a relatability and a little bit of more, oh, I connect with this person on this level,
Yeah.
which genuinely makes a very big difference.
Yeah.
Wait, so that brings me to asking, how do you decide where to and when to feature people and where not to? Because I know with you, while you have a lot of your like husband and dog, cat, all of that, we don't see your parents
Yeah.
or your in-laws so
No.
much, your mom-in-laws so much in the scene. So like, and with you, I feel like you show a lot of it, but when it comes to personal life, you and Gopali are quite like
Yeah.
chill on keeping it with the DL.
Yeah.
So where and how do you figure where to draw the line? And I'm asking this not just from the point of view of the viewer, even as a creator, I'm an oversharer. So I think I overshare everything in real life as well as on camera. So sometimes I'm like, should I edit that? Should I keep that? And there's a 50% chance I will just keep it anyway, even though I know it's TMI. Because I'm
Right.
like, no, somebody might relate to it
Yeah.
and somebody might find it helpful. So how are you deciding where to draw the line?
I mean, for me, honestly, it's happened over time. Like, as my parents have gotten older, I've realized they are like in their own space. Like, for them, being in a video means getting ready. Like, you know, my mom will want to put some lipstick or do her hair or whatever. Like, she is not me and does not want to be filmed in like, you know, her night suit or whatever. And similarly with my dad. And I just feel like, I realized very early on that this is my job, right? Like I decided to do this and this is my job, but it's not everyone's job
Yeah.
in my family or like even with my nephews, like we were talking earlier, like they loved being in a lot of my content and they were when they were younger. Now my older nephew is in a space where he doesn't want to be in a lot of content. You have to respect that because each individual has a choice. Or my friends at my age are like, they don't want to be in a random vlog. They also want to be well put together or like, oh, okay, we are doing something today. Then yeah, but like not on a random, oh, we're meeting at 10 p.m. for dinner and I'm putting a camera in everyone's face. We're not at that age, right?
Yeah.
So I think you have to kind of understand that depending on your circle and your space on how comfortable people are, you have to read that and you have to respect that and then kind of go in that format of what people want and are comfortable with and kind of tailor make that. So a lot of people comment like when I vlog in like my parents' house, they're like, are you alone? Are you home alone? I'm not seeing. And I'm like, no, they're around, but I'm not filming them because like
They're not comfortable.
I don't need to film them every, 24/7. Now my mother-in-law hates being on camera. So she doesn't like to do any, like she's never
Yeah.
featured in anything. So I think it's very, like you kind of have to read the room in general. As an older person, I think I got that because I started content creation when I was older and it wasn't such a common thing where even we didn't even film with phones, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like now today everyone has a phone camera in your face or something. At least at that point, it was like you had a proper camera to take photos at a birthday and all also. So I've kind of got that internal filter where I know what would work or not work. Or like, for example, if I'm going out for dinner with my friends, I won't show their faces. I'll just film the food if I want to show a bit in my vlog and show myself or before or after or talk about whatever. But I won't really film that situation with them or put them on the spot. Or like with my parents, similarly, unless they want to be part of something, I wouldn't be like, Or if it's a Mother's Day video, yeah, sure. But then my mom needs like 3 days notice to be like, yeah, we're shooting today.
You are not
You know?
facing that problem. Your mother is a star of her.
Yeah, her
kind.
mom is like,
Fully.
Yes, so when I started my content creation, I started with beauty and fashion. And then slowly I got into the lifestyle category and vlogs. So I can read it from a person's face that they want to be in the vlog or they
yeah,
don't want to
right.
be in the vlog. So my mom is completely camera friendly, very extrovert, and she loves to be in the vlogs and everything. Whereas when it comes to my dad, he's not at all comfortable. Like we took a family trip to Japan, but you will just find him in random few seconds. He doesn't want to be included in it. So we respect that and we don't include that. My family is there. My friends, few of my friends are there. Few of them are not there. I just don't want to show them because they also have a personal life. And for example, especially when it comes to guy best friends or guy friends, I don't want shipping going on in my comment
Right.
section because audience are very random on things.
Yeah.
Maybe they are dating, there's something going on and they are yet to be married. When they get married, people will say that,
Yeah.
oh, I think they are dating. People talk about it. I don't want stuff like that. So I respect them. Even if they are comfortable, I just don't want to cross the line that it will become difficult for them later in life. So that is there. And when it comes to personal life, for example, my partner or something like that, I don't choose to
You've
show
never
that.
shared any.
No,
ever.
never. I feel like I want strong commitment or proposal, and that's when I would want to show
Her
it.
sister made a very fascinating reveal on her episode, which will be very interesting
Oh.
for people to watch.
Yes.
But yeah.
But yeah, we have decided, like me and my sister both have decided we don't want that to go as a content.
So even if
We
you're
are-
dating someone for like a year or two, you don't talk
Yes,
about
I've
it.
been
at all.
in long
like, and they've
term
never featured in
relationships.
it.
it's
They've
about
never
till
been
till there's a
Till
ring.
there's a
which is
ring
what
on
I
it.
I'm
have.
not like
I was
sharing
fully
that.
like
Oh, you
that.
also
I
like
didn't
that
talk about
at
Jerry
all?
till I had a ring on my
like
finger.
no pictures or nothing.
The
Yes.
first picture I ever posted about him
Was
was,
it your
with my
engagement?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, same.
Because I
was
was just
related.
like, I also actually had similar problems. I had really close guy friends. We were a group of guys and girls, and people would assume that one of those guys was my
your
boyfriend,
boyfriend.
and
Right.
it wasn't him. It was Jerry.
Yeah.
But like Jerry was in a different group, and people would just assume it was somebody else. And I would sometimes try to clarify, sometimes not.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I don't care enough. When I talk about it, it'll be serious enough for me to
Serious
talk
enough,
about it. So I wanted to wait till I had a ring
I
on
shoot
my
all
finger.
the content, and once it will be out there.
So when
I'll
do you all
post it.
travel together and stuff, and then how do you vlog?
That's when I don't vlog.
So you don't vlog, huh?
Yes, when I travel
Yeah.
with
Like your
my
partner, you don't
I
vlog,
don't
huh?
vlog.
Yeah, but this is
And
what
I'm very scared that if I find a subscriber,
But
and
have
they
you
post
haven't you
about
ever
me,
come,
I'm
yeah,
very
haven't you
scared.
ever come across like you met someone when you're on a date or something, and then
Yes.
you're like, oh God, now this person's gonna like
There
talk
are a
about
bunch of them.
this.
They're like, who's that person? Who's that person? But अभी तक जितनों से मैं मिली हूँ, they have respected
Like and
that,
not really
and
said
they
it, yeah.
have and I asked the other one to click the photo. Like I asked,
हाँ,
her,
ask
can you
him,
click?
yeah.
Yeah, that's a smart move.
No, but
पीछे
also
ना दिखे.
because I feel like respecting privacy is something that people also now understand.
understand.
Like now, even when you see a celebrity walking on the road in Bombay, which happens all the time in
Yeah.
a city like Bombay, I feel like people are more like just respectful about the
No,
fact
but a
that
lot of
this-
people take sly photos and all also. Now you see
Yeah,
those
they
also
do, they
online.
do,
Like
but
so, I'm
now-
just saying from that angle. Like I mean, now like if like someone like her has never spoken about a relationship, it's like obviously if you're a hardcore fan, you're like, oh my God, like I saw her with her boyfriend or whatever. Like in that,
Fair,
you know.
especially now
Yeah.
with like people talking as much as
Yeah.
they do online about other people's lives. Yeah, fair point.
I'm just praying they don't.
No, it's like don't talk about it. The reason I'm saying this is because there also have been so many breakups, which
Breakups.
was
Yeah,
why
yeah,
I
exactly.
never chose to talk about it.
Yes,
So I
same.
get where you're coming from.
But
And
I
it's
never
very
even thought of it like
family-centric
that,
content.
honestly. Like, because I think also I had been dating Weber for a while before I started content creation. So it was very open and normal.
Yeah.
Like, as in, you know, I
Yeah.
didn't think of it as, oh,
That's why.
Yeah. Because it didn't happen after I had
Correct.
started. I was already, you know, like we were dating and creation was just happening. Like, you know, and it wasn't like I never thought of it as, oh, what will happen moving forward, or like I
Yeah.
didn't think all this.
No.
And I don't post my friends and partner also because you don't know why they are in my life. A lot of times I feel that there's so many people who wants to be friends with me so that they can be in vlogs.
Oh, really?
Sometimes. And I can sense that energy,
Like you
and
can-
more
you
than
get
that,
that
my
vibe.
mom and my best friend can pick it up for me that why are they being so
Wow.
close to you? Like I'm in that close friends, and they're like, let's go grab a coffee together, do this, do that. So I have to be very picky with those things
Right.
that why are they approaching me at times?
How are you so surprised about this? This
But
has
I
become
wouldn't think it would be
quite-
so obvious.
Because you
like, as in, like,
I think because it comes so organically to you generally because it's been so long that you're not like it's a thing now. Like there are people, okay, I'm going to share details with you offline, but like, for example, somebody sent me a text about me accidentally and meant to send it to someone else.
Like gossip.
So like, no, not like gossip. Like she was intending to become closer friends with me because she was about to launch her brand soon. And here I am thinking, hey, I made an adult friend.
Yeah,
Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I felt like such a fool. And I was like, wow, I thought I made a cool, chill adult girlfriend. You know, you're married, I'm married. This is before I was a mom.
Wow.
And the message was accidentally sent
To you.
to me about
Shit.
me, and to their misfortune, the phone was in my hand, like right there.
So I think you
Wow.
have to have your eyes open all the time in all the angles. And there can be someone who is genuinely approaching you because they just love
Yeah.
your vibe and stuff like that. But when you post everything on social media, be it female friendships, be it partner, be it someone randomly you have met on a foreign trip, it's just too much. I don't want that kind of hate coming up.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
why are you guys not hanging out now? What's going
Yeah.
on? This,
Yeah.
that.
And that happens actually a lot, because I remember like last year within the same girl group extended, there was a lot of comments about, oh, why isn't this one here? Why isn't this one supporting this one? Why isn't-"
Exactly.
And I would see it in the comments. I'm like, people need to chill. Like,
Like everyone has their own life.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's why I feel like for me, a lot of it, like I can very easily separate the online from the offline.
Yeah.
Like, because we've had that balance in our life, I think. So even though I know a lot of creators and I may meet them, or I may not vlog or post even a picture or post even a story. Like it would just be like, okay, I've met you,
Yeah.
and it could just go undetected anywhere
Yeah.
on social media, which is so normal. Unless like you're saying it's the other person who's like constantly like filming every like little bit. But
Yeah. wait, so what is your favorite thing about your creator life till today, in 8 years, in 13 years? What is one thing you look back at and you're like, this was a peak? Like it was a good moment.
I think for me, it's all the travel. Like, I
Same, I
think,
was
yeah.
about to say the same.
Like when, I think as someone that I've been really lucky and privileged to be offered a lot of crazy travel opportunities. And that I think, you can't imagine that when a younger you would
Yeah.
think. Also for my generation, like going abroad was a big, big deal. Like I went on my first trip, I think when I was 11, and then I never traveled till I was, I think 16, 17 abroad. But before, like when I started modeling is when I started traveling on work again. So I think that valuing that, oh my God, a trip is like a mega thing, or flying business class, or like those kind of things, which, you don't, the younger me would not have like imagine that would come to me as a perk of my job. And I still value that every time. I'm excited when like a trip opportunity comes up, like a little kid who's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm getting to go here. Even though you've done many, it's exciting. Or you're like, oh, I'm dying to like, check out this business class, or like, so I think that is for me, will never get old. It's something that excites me because I think travel excites me as an individual. I love it. It's the favorite thing I would do. Even if I had a lot of money, I would just want to travel and spend it. So I think that's why kind of that thing of traveling for free is like, oh my God, I love this.
It is cool. I agree. What about you?
I have the same answer. Being able to afford what I wanted as a child is like the main thing. I grew up in Surat. I was in state board for a long period of time. And then it was a dream to go to Mumbai and work. And when I'm invited to YouTube office, Google office, when I'm coming back to Mumbai, I see my car there, my apartment there, the beautiful view. It just makes me feel very grateful about things. And travel, yes. When brands come and they're like, we want you to travel here, we are going to take care of expenses, just the best feeling.
Is there something that you would go back and change in your journeys?
Nothing. I don't think so. Because I think the wrong edits, the wrong pick of music, the wrong things that I've done has made me come to this right point, I think.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just been like, I always say my content has been an expression of like where I am in life. And that's kind of how it's grown, especially if you've done it for so long. Now, even you've been doing it for so long, you can see you're not the same person you were 8 years ago. Like you're evolving, your content evolves. So I think there's no mistakes. It's just kind of as you change, your content changes, your preferences change. And, it's all part of the journey. So I wouldn't change anything. I think it's been beautiful.
Can we talk about different streams of income while we're here? Because like I feel like creators have started diversifying.
Yeah.
And it would be great to, kind of shed some light on that also.
I mean, I think for someone like us who started traditionally, there was only like sponsored
Yeah.
videos or YouTube monetization, which
AdSense.
of course, when you first see that and you're like, oh, that's all. That's how much it is. And at that time, I still remember, you probably haven't experienced this, but only my first Google payment came in the mail. Like it was an actual check.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it was an actual check.
And I still have it because I never I cashed the bit, but the top part which you have to tear or whatever, I
Oh.
kept it. Like I was like, I'm going to frame this and keep it eventually.
So you did not, guys, get it in your bank account?
No,
No, it was a
legit.
check.
it was a check. There were no
Solid check?
transfers at that time. It was an actual solid check. So, I mean, of course, the amount was really small, but it just also you had to collect till reach that threshold period of
$100,
$100 or whatever to get there, and it took forever. But it was just the feeling of that. Okay, so coming from that to today, where we are, is a real big jump.
Wow, you just reminded me about the
You
check.
know what I mean?
I think I forgot about that.
Like for me, that has always been one of those key moments in my life where I will remember it because it came and it said Google on top, and I was like, oh my god, like this is my first paycheck from YouTube. But like there's definitely, so there used to be only sponsored content, which was kind of like your primary, form of income because YouTube money was still, AdSense was way lower. And today, of course, as your production costs increased and all, it still doesn't add up to really, like I can't live off just my AdSense. I have to do branded content. So the good thing about the shorts and the longs and whatever is obviously it's created different streams for more people.
Yeah.
Where you have, different avenues for different content, because otherwise it was literally just a integrated video or a exclusive video on YouTube, which was pretty much how it went for many years. And then of course now there's reels, there's shorts, there's a longer format on YouTube, there's different formats on Instagram, whether it's stories or, so that is obviously your sponsored content is one bracket. Affiliate marketing, which has also come in, I think, much later, which I think is a great way for organic creators to still make extra money. Of course, the rates we're offered in India are not amazing at this point, but I mean, it's still something. Like, because anyways, I think as YouTubers, we put links in the description. So if you're putting links in the description anyways, you might as well get something from it.
Something's better than nothing.
Something's better than nothing. So I feel like that is something that has come in, which is a new kind of form, which is interesting for someone like me because I focus more on my organic content than doing so many brand deals. And then I guess obviously events has become a bigger, again, draw for people where you attend your event, you post your content, or even just, I guess people are also being paid just to attend now and stuff like that. So I would say these are the pretty much the current streams. I don't know if there's anything
Do you
else.
invest? Have you invested in real estate, stocks? What other income streams?
I mean, just funds and like I kind of like to have, I think, all my money invested if I have extra money. I'm not someone that really splurges. I guess that comes with being older and in that space of now, like I want to be responsible for my family, for my life and so on. And I started, I think, when I started YouTube initially, I didn't really save because even as a model, I was a freelancer, right? And you live paycheck to paycheck. So sometimes you're like, there's no money, there's money. And also in the early years of YouTube, there was barely any money. Like we didn't really crack some crazy brand deals or anything. There was a lot of free stuff, yes, but not a lot of money. And then I was really scared always to invest because I think, what if I need the money? Like even if you have one big job, then you're like, I need the money. But like one of my closest friends, brothers who works in, investing money and stuff, he was like, just start an SIP. Start it. Do it for 200 rupees, do it for 500 rupees a month, whatever, but just start it. Yeah. And I always thank him because he got me started on that journey with that, and that is still going till date. I've never like touched that. It's still I've grown with my finances, but it's like for me that's like an emotional, like, okay, this was the first thing I invested in, kind of.
Nice.
And I kind of started seeing obviously my funds multiply, and I was like, oh my god, this is so exciting, and whatever. And it started as a rainy day fund, but then it's like now obviously all my savings and everything I've earned over the last decade, which is great. So for me, my model of work is very simple. If I make a certain amount, I know I need a certain amount for my life, for my rent, for my expenses, to look after my family, my pets, so on. Anything beyond that, I'm like, invest it, save it, and I will probably need it at some time, because again, as a freelancer, you can't say. Also, there are some months where you don't make any money. especially with someone like me who's picky, like often I'm like, okay, there's nothing that I want to do this month. Or if you're ill, like when I had TB, it really shook me because for 6 months I didn't work at all.
Right.
And that was not like something I'd ever done normally, like
Correct.
by choice, right? Because you're always thinking, oh, I have to keep earning, because you're working for like to live, right? It's not like just like I'm doing this as a hobby or whatever. This is my job. So I think that also shook me of, oh yeah, I need to be prepared always to have my investments and my funds
In place.
if
Yeah.
I can't work, if I'm ill or anything, or if like anyone in my family needs it, it should be there. So that was kind of my driving force to kind of start investing and saving. And I've been very consistent with it, and I'm very strict with myself. Like I shop here and there, but nothing like, oh my God, like I'm not going to go and spend 5 lakh rupees on a bag, or that I've made that, like I'm clear in my head that at this point in my life, that's not happening. Like if I have that, it's going to be invested and it's going to be saved.
Fair. Where are you on different streams
So-
of income?
Majorly, your paid partnerships, the brands, which are there on short format, that is Reels and YouTube Shorts. And then few integrations, which are rare. Google AdSense, I think that mostly goes when I have to give off the salary, because that's not a lot. So it's usually the short format and Google AdSense, and few bits and pieces from paid partner, Google AdSense. Yeah, Google AdSense. Yes. Now the other source is I invest my money in a family business, that is real estate business, and I've made it in such a way that it is on autopilot mode, and I get the money back. The more I invest, the more I get it back. So that's the way where I invest.
And how do we get into this business?
Sorry, it's a family business. She's going to say that.
We are like family.
That's a good thing. We shall discuss later.
No, I love that you have that. Are you also
Because
doing like...
I genuinely think when I started with my first day in college, which was very relatable, that I'm going on my Activa and what I'm eating from canteen and all of that. But now I'm taking international trips and all. That is not as relatable as it was before, right? Even though my audience is growing with me, I do feel I will be sometimes irrelevant to my audience, and I have that fear. Every creator has that fear that they have like a particular shelf life, and then they will not be there in the industry. The brands will not approach them. The newer creators will come. Right now it's Gen Z, and then there's going to be some other creators which are going to be on board with the campaign. So I believe I need to invest my money at some other places as well. And that is my family business. I always wanted to be a part of my family business, even when I was not a content creator. I was like, ye to karna hi hai. So that is what I do.
So you're actually involved in the business also,
yes,
like
I
in
know what
real
is
estate,
going
you know
on.
what's going on.
Yes,
and
yes. Even though I'm not very active there because content creation takes most of my time, but I know what is going on. I have people who will take care of that. My family, people who have been appointed for years, who take care of it. So I usually go there. I feel that is my safest spot to invest my money, because I'm 23. My family has their money, and Didi earns, and father earns, and everyone earns. But I need to invest my money as soon as I get my check, because then I will end up spending it. So the first thing I do is make FDs, make SIPs, and then I tell mama that this is the money, and I tell my CA, because I think you should give the work to the professional people.
Yeah.
They'll do it better for
I
you.
love how sorted she is at
Yeah.
this age. Like, it's amazing. I have to tell you that. Hats off to you.
Thank you.
Like, because I spent, like, as a model, like, I made a lot of money when I was younger, but I spent it all. And that was my biggest, like, one of my biggest regrets, where I was like, I should have started saving much younger.
Earlier.
Like, I started saving later in my 20s. And then I was like, wow, if I had started this earlier, imagine I would have been so
But I
much.
think this also comes from the fact that her and Gopali really do pretty much run the ship when it comes to their family
Right.
unit. They're so good with like being hands-on on money, planning, management, right?
And
Both
I
the
was
girls.
quite the opposite. When I started content creation and when I started getting money, I used to save all the money and not spend at all. And then, and I used to tell mama was also like, yeah, save all the money. Why do you want to spend it? Why do you want to get more makeup, this, that? But then Didi came in the picture. She's like, she's young. Let her spend some money that she's earning. definitely.
Like
So-
also enjoy some of
Also
it. Yeah.
enjoy some. So I made a point that as soon as I get my checks, I'll invest some and I'll keep some amount for myself. And there's definitely some amount that I want to purchase for my business. For example, I want to upgrade my camera lenses or products that I need to order for videos and all. That is separate. But I make sure I just have some amount of money to spend in life, or else I'll also end up
And
just spending
Gopali
it
are
out.
both beautifully
love it,
sorted when it
yeah.
comes to this. Yeah, for sure, 100%. Are you guys comfortable? And I asked you before rolling, and I'm asking this in every episode, to be honest, because I'm trying to show people what a legitimate business we're part of. As you know, the creator economy is growing. And so I'm asking everyone if they're comfortable with sharing what an average month of billing looks like or what a best month looks like, just so that people understand that we don't need other people to be fueling and funding our lifestyles. It's pretty much us that are, kind of navigating our own ships.
I mean, for me, there wouldn't be an average month, as I told you, because even now there are months where I don't do a single paid partnership or anything, and then I'm going out of pocket because obviously you're still paying
Salaries.
for production and so on, and other things like she said, a camera or your, whatever you need for this business it is a business to keep going. But I will say, like, in terms of highs, definitely there have been months where it's been over, 10 lakhs, and that obviously you're like, wow, okay, this is what I could, like, some, it's a lot of money to make in like a few jobs in a month and so on. So I will say that there are those months obviously where you're doing bigger jobs, or when you're doing like a show and things like that, where there's bigger chunks of money that come in, which obviously then makes you feel more relaxed and justified for the next few months, where you're like, okay, good,
Gives you sanity.
yeah, but I've not really, I wouldn't say there's a certain, every month. As I said, I needed every month this much for me to run my house and for my other expenses. But then that is like, obviously I could work 1 month and not work the next 4 months and make that kind of money. Or there's no real pattern to it as a freelancer, unfortunately, because you can't predict when and where that work will come. Or in my case, also in what form. Because like, as I said, like I've hosted shows, I've done, so like obviously if you're on a 10-day schedule, you're going to make a chunk of money and you're going to only work that. And that's a one job in a year. It's not really going to be like every month.
Right.
Or there's that 1 month where you're like, okay, 4 jobs have worked out just this month. Great. Now I can just chill for a little bit. So yeah, that kind of, I mean, for me, it's kind of, that's the balance where I'm like happier. I don't have to keep doing like a lot of partnerships every month, or like I still have that thing in my head of, okay, this is not me. I don't want to do it. And I will say no, even if it's a dry month with no work, where I'm just like, okay, you're tempted, but I'll be like, no, Sherry, just stick to it and don't do it.
What is an average month look like for you?
So as she mentioned, it is very different. If it's like a festive month, then we are going to have more money. If it is not, then we also have dry months. Before I tell the amount, I would want to mention it to our audience that the amount that we are mentioning is collective efforts of the years that we have been putting the work for.
Yeah.
And when I get the checks, for example, they are somewhat, we used to mention it in iPhones, remember that I can purchase this many iPhones. I'm going to stick to it. I can purchase 5 to 6 iPhones every month.
So I did this math with your sister when we shot with her
really?
also. And I said one iPhone is 1.5 lakh.
1.5.
For the sake of...
So I'm very bad with math. So what
So
is
if
that?
you're saying 6, you're basically saying 9 lakh.
9 to 10 lakhs.
Right?
Yeah, that
so,
is, I think.
and I also again want to reiterate, like you said, it's collective years,
Yeah.
but also keep in mind these are billing values. You still have salaries, expenses, tax, GST, etc. And we're sharing this to be candid. At no point of time is anyone
And
trying
this
to
is a
show
good
off.
month.
Show off,
Like,
yes.
as I said, it's not
No,
like
she's sharing
good
average.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even she's saying there are months where they're dry months.
Of
That's what
course.
I mean. So,
No, like I always say
this is the
statistically,
Yeah.
I always say statistically, you make most of your money, 70% of your money usually between September to December,
Yeah.
especially according to
festive,
the Indian festive calendar season.
I
Right?
don't feel that, honestly.
Really?
I mean, because I guess I don't do a lot of festive content. I mean, generally, I don't like work on a calendar. I like a lot of, like, I know you pre-plan a lot. She pre-plans a lot. I'm very like, okay, week to week, chalo. It's not like now, for Rakhi coming up, for example, I haven't thought of any content specifically related to that. And it's just like, if it happens organically, like if I have a Diwali OOTD, it'll go on Diwali as my actual OOTD. It's not like a
You're not because you're not so heavy into short form
Yeah.
content.
Yeah,
but like
but if
I used
guess,
to pre-plan a lot, pre-baby. I
yeah,
was
to shoot
pre-planning
a lot of it.
Yeah, and I know that you do as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So I guess where we're coming from is that if you're looking at a 9-10 as an average month, there will be months where there's nothing, and then in festive there will be months when it is a lot higher.
Yeah.
Because most people tend to
Getting
say
those
that.
collabs at that time. Yeah.
Correct. Because most people tend to say
That's
60-70% of your business comes during that time. Also, I want to say AdSense rates go up from October to December, right? So like your YouTube AdSense, yeah, they do.
Oh, do they? I've
Yes,
never noticed.
half of the things I'm learning about Google AdSense
I
from
had
Anam
never
only.
really
Absolutely. Your
noticed.
AdSense rates
Really?
go up from towards the end of the year.
I'm going to check this.
Yeah,
You
same.
should. And English-speaking audience will recognize this even more.
because of the Christmas. and
Because
the-
of Christmas, because bidding rates are
Right.
higher for brands
Black
that
Friday sales also, all of
everything.
that.
So
yeah.
even if you're doing
So do we have the
performance,
same thing when it goes to Diwali?
no,
and all
unfortunately, I'll tell you why. Because
people end up
globally,
Ah.
globally, that's a spike. The way brands bid for YouTube rates are higher, and I'll go so far as to say it's not even just about YouTube AdSense. Even for brands that are doing performance marketing, when you put money into Google and you put money into Meta to boost posts for a brand post or for just making those ads, those rates, those CPVs, those CPCs go up a lot higher,
Right.
during that time. So on the creator side, it's great because you're getting more bang for your buck.
Yeah.
But
Right.
on the brand side, you're actually spending a lot more as well.
Like I
So-
feel like usually this May, June is like a more lean period in my head.
It used to be, but if you look back
Now
at the
it's
last,
seeming more.
Yeah.
But I feel like because a lot of the international companies, they change their budgets in June.
June.
So they have run out of budget.
Jan.
Yeah.
June.
Oh.
Like a lot of models work on June. Like a lot of beauty companies work on June as their renewal.
I've gotten told a
so-
lot of them work for Jan.
Yeah, no, some see that's the thing. It's Jan. Indian standards is March, and then there's also
April.
this. So for the new budget to come in, so like by March, either they have money to be like we want to finish the money, or there's no money,
They know.
right? So
Correct.
that's like it's that. So that I think from March onwards till June somehow it's this dance between is there money or there's no money.
So
with
a
brands.
few years ago, I always used to say June, July are like
the
dead
leanest,
periods.
yeah.
And now, if you look back at the last 3 years, I've realized no, wait, there's still
They are
campaign
happening, yeah.
inquiries happening through June, July because I've realized monsoon
Monsoon
content,
is
hair care,
Yeah.
those categories suddenly really push during June and July.
I think now it's kind of become as like you're saying, it's each brand and their budgets and their campaigns. I don't think they are following a format anymore of like of course there's a like you're saying Diwali, Christmas, which are go-tos for most brands where they like we have some budget to do something. But like I think otherwise your annual year-round content is now dependent on their campaigns. And I don't think there's ever a month which you can say is a no. Like it depends from creator to creator, but there isn't like a lean period anymore. Like I remember people used to be like, yeah, touchwood. Like you're saying, the monsoon was really like there would be no work. Like it was clear that this is a point where nothing is going
People
to come.
always traveled in June,
Yeah,
July.
exactly.
I always plan my
People
travels
used to
like
take their
that.
holidays and all of that, saying nothing's going to happen. Like it was
No
like
events.
that. Yeah. But I think
It's
now
changed.
that has definitely changed where there is work in these months as well.
So I want to get to a little segment that I always end all my episodes with. It's called Hot or Not. You can
Okay.
look at it as true or false, hot or not, yay or nay. Very simple. When you disagree
Okay.
or when you agree. I'm going to hand this to her, and I'm going to give you a few. I'm going to give you a few feelings, statements,
Okay.
thoughts, and you can tell me what you think of them. Hot or not? Let's do this. 5-step skincare routines. I knew yours would be.
You have a beautiful skin.
I don't have the patience or the time.
Fake candid travel shots in your vlogs.
I think they're cute.
Yeah.
Like not your vlogs, but in your images, like
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Insta.
Okay.
Vlogging in public.
I'm dealing with it.
I mean, you have to, I guess, vlog in public only. Where how else?
I
you
put my
vlog?
camera like this, guys. I'm here. I'm
I've
doing
seen
this.
her be
Oh, that way.
discreet,
Like
yeah.
where you're worried about people. You're saying.
No, she's conscious.
Are conscious, that what are
conscious.
they going to think?
Yeah.
But it's become so common today. Yeah. Like pehle to people would look at you like, what
Like,
is this?
what are you
yeah,
doing?
like what is
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
weird
yeah.
person doing?
And now you have those teeny tiny
Yeah,
cameras.
the
as
Osmo. I
compared
love
to-
that. So I'm like, this is so tiny, nobody cares.
I can't. I still need my big fat hathoda. Packing uncomfortable outfits for a trip just for the gram. 10 takes for that one transition video.
That's
We have
why I
completely
don't do
different
transition videos, and especially those tuck 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 tuk tuk tuk. I'm like, okay, it's gonna take me a lifetime. I can't do it.
Solo travel trips and vlogs.
I would like to say, like, yes, it's hot, but I haven't done a lot of it.
I love my company. I love to travel solo.
Vlogging in pajamas.
Yeah.
AI generated content for social media. I love how quickly that went, you guys. Short form content is king in today's day and age. Agree or disagree?
Can I hold it like that?
I mean, it is king in today's day and age. I mean,
Yeah.
whether you like it or not
Or
is
not,
subjective,
yeah.
but it
Agree.
is what's, I guess, fueling the industry.
Industry and getting money from. So,
Digital detoxes.
no.
I don't really do too many.
Being relatable over being aspirational. You guys were a lot of fun. Thank
was a
you
lot of fun.
so much for coming on and being part of this episode. I hope that you guys enjoyed each other's
Yeah,
company
yes,
as well,
we
because
did.
I enjoyed it thoroughly. I'm patting myself on the back for this pair. Like,
I feel
just
like we're
bring-
going to have a deep real
More
estate conversation after
After this, I agree.
This is a wait, so the wrong side. This is a list for each of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ooh, we get goodies.
Yes, it's the least I can do to say thank you to you guys for coming on, taking the time out, and just being part of season 2 of The Real Deal.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.